everybody. It's Allie, and welcome to our Y&R Chat for Sunday, April 27th, 2025. Jack said, "It's a little feminine." And Diane said, "It's Italian velvet." And he said, "Well, in that case, OMG. Look, I love the couch, but the fact that it is velvet does not change the fact that it is pink." Well, it's light red, also known as pink. Which is it? That's the debate. Is it red? Is it pink? Is it both? Oh my goodness. The Abbott Mansion reveal. Could there be any other poll question for this week? I mean, it's pretty clear that that's what it has to be. Do you love it? Do you not love it? Is the couch red? Is the couch pink? Go to yrchat.com. We got to see the hard numbers on how the Y&R chatters are responding to our revised environment. Well, I think it's lovely. I mean, I think it's clear that it was done with a lot of care. It looks like and feels like the Abbott Mansion. It's just slightly more modern. I really do feel like the overall essence is there. But now we have updated wallpaper, updated wainscoting, furniture that no one died in. Which actually is a negative for me. And instead of those beautiful red chairs in the back, we now have this red couch. Of course, I'm going to miss those red chairs, but I feel like they knew we loved the red chairs, so they brought us the red couch. And I love the material of the couch. Apparently, I love Italian velvet. It's very lush. I think what it is that the fabric itself is red, but there's something about like the ruching, the foldings in between that is white. So red plus white equals pink. It reads as pink, but it's lovely. It's splashy. I think the side chairs look very festive. I mean, I think Jack nailed it. He said, though, the furniture is feminine. I mean, the walls, everything on the around is looks natural, but the furniture is a little feminine. I'll tell you what I love the most. I think the entryway looks a lot better, because before, I want to say it was a landscape wallpaper. There was some trees or some vines or something, and now it just looks white and with a little swirl. Very elegant, not distracting in any way, very bright. No Buddha statue welcoming you when you come in the door, just brightness, bright elegance as you walk in. And I think it looks, it looks very nice. I do miss the fact that there used to be a bar in the living room where, Jack would come over after a long day and pour himself a drink at the bar. I do kind of miss that. But instead, we have a new expanded seating area where it's 2 chairs and a drink table between them. So, I mean, maybe that's a good visual mix-up. Maybe it's going to give us some more seating options. I mean, our cast is like, they deserve some nice seats to sit in, some more comfortable places to sit and have a drink. I'll tell you what I do not like. I do not like the picture, the painting above the fireplace. Not that it's a bad picture or anything. I just don't like it there. I mean, I will say, I'm glad it wasn't a portrait of John. I appreciated the flashback of John very, very much. But when they panned up on the fireplace, I was like, oh no, not another oil portrait. I love my oil portraits, but I also just kind of felt like, well, if John was going to get one, it should have been a decade ago. You know, I don't need him looming at this point. But you know, I guess the thing is with the portrait, though, it's a beautiful shape. It's the portrait itself is fine on its own, the Victorian lady. And you know, they even made up a story for Diane to give to Jack about how Dina gave this portrait to John all those years ago and she found it in the attic and she saved the letter for Jack. Okay. But to me, it just feels like an attempt to make the space look old or look romantic. And it doesn't feel totally connected to the Abbotts to me. It just feels like shorthand for old. I did appreciate that they got rid of the mess of crystal that was above the fireplace. I love crystal, but every time I saw it, I thought that has got to be a nightmare to clean. Someone's up there, Miss Martinez up there with her little feather duster cleaning all that crystal that's hanging there. Definitely fewer portraits on the fireplace, but the portraits are still there. Bookcases look lovely. Overall, I think the living room looks good. I like that the living room area is sort of dark, but the entryway area is sort of light. So when we're seeing most of our scenes of the Abbotts in the living room, it's a nice contrast. Now, I will say, I think the dining room looks nothing like the old dining room. In some ways, the dining room is like even more important. The dining room definitely had the biggest overhaul. It's harder to recognize than the main living room. And in truth, the dining room probably needed it most of all. But now it's so dark and brown. I feel like it was blue and light before, and now it's dark and brown. It doesn't feel as warm and family-y as it used to. It definitely feels more modern. And there's another Victorian style oil portrait over the second fireplace. For crying out loud, there's a fireplace in the main room, a fireplace in the dining room. How many fireplaces do these people need? And portraits above it. But there's a whole, but the one that's above the fireplace in the dining room is a very Victorian, Mary had a little lamb situation. I feel like I have seen that portrait before. It's a woman holding a lamb. Maybe it was in the house before, for all I know. It could have been in the dining room, for all I know. And now that I think about it, the Abbott main room above the bureau where they had all those pictures before, there was like some weird dog picture. Like it was like a dog race or something. I don't know, something weird up there on that opposite side of the fireplace. So, I mean, maybe it's not totally out of left field that the Abbotts would have weird paintings all over the place. But yeah, I don't know. Those things didn't connect with me. I'll tell you what I did really like is that Y&R gave Jack an opportunity, gave him the space to say what he didn't like. Because it's not feasible that his wife would redecorate the whole place without any input from him or anyone else in the family, and then he would just come in and love every single thing. So I liked that there was a moment where he said, all right, okay, I will tell you some of the things I don't like. But then every single criticism that he had, Diane just lightly rebutted, and then he lightly caved. I didn't feel like there was any real opposition there. He said, I don't know, maybe the molding is too formal. And she said, oh, Jack, I didn't change the molding. I just had it painted. Oh, okay. Well, I mean, this chair, okay, I don't know. This chair is nice and all, but nobody died in it. Oh, Jack, just give it time. Adam and Chelsea were adorable on Friday. I was dying, absolutely LOLing at my screen at Adam's multiple restaurant proposals. None of which were an actual proposal. He invited Chelsea to lunch, said, I have a proposal, and her mind immediately went to, oh no, is he asking me to marry him right now? I am not ready for this. But no, turns out he was asking her not to be his wife, but to be his new COO at Newman Media, which is basically asking someone to be your COO is the equivalent of asking them to marry you in Genoa City. When you're in this world, it's the equivalent. But he got down on one knee, and the whole restaurant was staring, and she was mortified. It was so funny. It was so cute. She was like, get up, Adam, get up right now. Adam, you're incorrigible. Incorrigible and adorageable. She didn't say yes right away, so he really cranked up the charm and did another proposal. He proposed flatbread too, and then I liked how later in the scene there was actually flatbread there. It was just so funny. That was a fun and funny scene. Really pulled me into Adam and Chelsea. I have no doubt that she will say yes to becoming his co-CEO or COO, I guess it was, second in command. But I don't know. At the same time, I think, well, Chelsea is a designer. You know, that's who she is. That's how I picture her. She worked so hard to get that career back. And I'm not sure it's a really good idea for her to just toss that all away based on a couple of happy months with Adam. I mean, what's going to happen 3 months from now when Adam and Billy are in a full-on media war and Chelsea's just stuck in the middle of them? I think she's going to wish that her job was just looking at fabric swatches. Daniel's guitar playing is not so good, but his sense of drama is right on. Just excellent. He really knows how to cause drama. Daniel said, get a job? Nah, I think I'll just learn how to play the guitar instead. How fortunate for you. Man. Okay. I honestly, I can't believe this is happening, Ning Ning. Is Daniel gonna fall in love with Tessa, and then Tessa's gonna fall in love with Daniel? Of course they're gonna fall in love. I mean, they're both adorable. Dang, like, and on top of it, Daniel's got all those tattoos, and he's like wounded right now. Daniel is so tattooy and wounded that, duh, Abby, she's gonna fall for him. And Tessa's just so dang charming and lovable and wise. Of course he's gonna fall for her. And then Mariah's gonna find out, and the whole thing is gonna get messy, like extra messy, like messy on a whole new level of messy for Y&R. Man, I don't know how I feel about this, because I really wish that Daniel would just have gone to work at Abbott Communications and hooked up with Sally. I mean, that's the couple for me. Daniel and Sally, they're the couple. And I think that would really cause some great drama for Billy and Phyllis. I mean, Billy would be like, I brought Daniel on at Phyllis's behest, and now he's stolen my girlfriend. And Phyllis would hate that Daniel's with Sally. So I feel like that would have really been a much more interesting storyline direction. I feel like that would have been the move for Y&R. But, you know, I don't know. Daniel and Tessa feels very random to me. I know that they've had multiple run-ins, but there's just something about it that doesn't click for me right away. But then again, Tessa feels like a whole new character right now. I feel like I'm almost seeing this evolved, different version of Tessa. You know, she's got her blonder hair and her lighter eyeshadow, and honestly, she's a little brighter sometimes just without Mariah around. So I feel like I'm looking at this new version of Tessa. I feel like the guitar playing scene between them was very cute. Daniel looks good with a guitar. I really laughed when he pulled out his $5,000 guitar, and Tessa looked at it like, oh, wow, my guitar's worth a quarter of that. Which, also begs the question, wait a minute, why doesn't Daniel's dad teach him how to play? Daniel said, oh yeah, I've got a guitar. My dad gave me one years ago. And then he pulls it out, and it's like this amazing guitar that she probably would love to have. It's weird. It's like, okay, well, your dad is a rock star. Why wouldn't you ask him? Maybe he might want to teach you a few things. But I got a feeling that lessons with dad aren't exactly what Daniel is having in mind right now. Daniel could have learned how to play the guitar on YouTube. But where's the drama in that? Daniel deciding that he didn't want to work at Abbott Communications anymore has really driven a wedge between Billy and Phyllis. What happened here? Just a couple of weeks ago, Billy was practically cradling Phyllis in his arms after rescuing her from this dramatic kidnapping. And now he's telling her to forget about Daniel or she's out of the company. I just really don't fully understand Billy's hard line approach here. He's coming off as petulant. Okay, Daniel wants in, Daniel wants out. Who really cares at the end of the day? If you didn't even know what kind of job Daniel was going to have in the first place, then why does it even matter to Billy especially? Daniel was given a blank check to write his own job description at the company, and he said, no thanks, pass. Okay, well, that doesn't really have anything to do with Phyllis and her position. Phyllis has made it more than clear that she still wants to work at the company. So why push? Why not just let it blow over? It doesn't make any sense to me, and it feels almost like a prop to give Sally something to do. To feud with Phyllis? Because Billy all but offered Sally Phyllis's job this week. I don't understand how it went from, I can't do this without you, Phyllis, to, oh, well, get out. I'll just try to hire my girlfriend to do the job. I just really didn't like that. And I didn't really think that Sally belonged in any of those conversations. Sally's Billy's girlfriend. Not a business partner, not even an employee. She turned down the job offer, so what's she doing there? And why does she get to have an opinion? It just feels like it's all a prop to try to whip up some jealousy here. And it doesn't even that doesn't make sense, because Billy and Phyllis were closer before Daniel said no to the job, and Sally didn't seem bothered by that. But now that Billy and Phyllis are at odds, Sally's suddenly telling Audra she's worried about Phyllis. But oh my goodness, Sally looked so good in her men's dress shirt and undone tuxedo tie look with the giant black hair bow in the back. Oh, you better believe I would have worn a giant black hair bow this week if I'd had one. That was the look of the week. Sally's look was the look of the week. And then she sat down next to Audra in that red rose print dress. And then Holden walked right in his tight leather shirt. Did I say tight leather pants? No, I said tight leather shirt. Let me tell you, that shirt gave me a whole new appreciation for Holden. warm on him before the shirt. But now I'm thinking, I feel like I might need to know him a little better than I do. Sally said, Audra, please. There's something more going on here as evidenced by the shirt. There's clearly more going on. Audra's reaction to him is not the reaction of a casual fling or even a short-term relationship. Sally clocked it. There was something more going on between you two. Something that, knowing Audra, she is fighting very hard to hide. Lily seemed to imply that he has something on her, maybe, but I kind of like thinking that it's just that she's hiding that they meant a lot more to each other and that when she sees him, she is still attracted to him. Because Audra always seems so annoyed by his existence, his mere existence. And maybe, just maybe, it's because she, you know, it's not just him wanting her more than she wants him. Maybe it actually is Holden knowing that Audra wants him just as much and that she's hiding the truth of that. And so that's why he keeps sticking around. Not because he wants her more, but because he knows she wants him just as much. Yeah, I got all that from the leather shirt. That really prompted me to go deeper. After the leather shirt, the whole story started making sense. Holden actually asked Audra if she might have a job for him at her new company, and she scoffed. But I've got a feeling that Holden would do a fine job of selling cosmetics or used cars or ice to an Eskimo. I don't know. Audra, hire him. Damien has chartered a private jet, and he and Amy are headed out to Boston to get Amy settled into that clinic for her miracle treatments. Sweet. I am very happy about this. And Damien said, fly coach? Never! I like him. I like it. I like him. I like her. I like it. But I feel like Damien need to start thinking twice about betraying his boss, because he's got private jet money right now. And if he really loves his job and loves that private jet money, and now he's also going to have to pay for Amy's treatments, he's got some more things to think about before he goes and betrays Aristotle Dumas. Well, I mean, I love this. I love Amy. I'm wishing Amy well. I'm hoping for a speedy recovery. I want her to come back to Genoa City with a new hairstyle, maybe some new clothes as quickly as possible. And in the meantime, while they're all in Boston, I hope that Audra does not blow it with Nate. But we all know she will. And we all know that Holden's going to be the one there to pick up the pieces. Amy's life is being saved, but now Cole is dying. I can't believe Cole came back just to die. It doesn't seem fair, does it? He traveled around the world, had the trip of a lifetime, came back with gifts and smiles and hugs, but one cough. And the future is clear. There can be no other interpretation of the cough. Sorry, Victoria. Another one is biting the dust. Dang. This is really going to put a damper on Kyle and Claire's love story. And how much do you want to bet that Cole's dying wish will be that Kyle and Claire live happily ever after? Ugh! Well, this week Kyle and Claire shared their first I love you, and I just want to say I love you too, Kyle and Claire. I really do. I thought that that was a very well written scene. delivered beautifully by both of the actors. And we need romance on the show. We need young love on the show. We need to be able to connect with that first time energy. It seems almost hard to remember being in a place where you don't know exactly how to label what you're feeling. But that's exactly where Claire is. She has been experiencing this relationship with Kyle, every inch of it. And yet, she's been in the process of asking herself, is this love? I don't know. How do I know? And so then to have her explain it to him, this is how I know. This is my evidence. I thought that was very powerful. And then in the end, she told him that she is ready to move in together, come what may. And you better believe that Victor is going to end up whipping up a storm over this. It is equally hard for me to imagine myself being 80 years old and caring at all who my granddaughter is dating. Even if it's somebody I don't like, I can only imagine myself giving her the allowance to make her own mistakes the way I was able to. I can only imagine wanting her to just live her life and figure it out. The only exception to that would be if I felt that he was hurting her, like if it was an abusive relationship or something. But that is not the case with Kyle and Claire. Victor is simply predicting that Kyle is going to hurt Claire. And in the meantime, he's the one who's actually hurting her. This whole thing is just such a mess. But Nikki's reaction to it all is perfect. She's like, let him grumble. Don't even take it into account. Live your life. Do what you want to do. Move in with Claire. Nikki's going to get to the bottom of everything that's going on with Audra and probably going to save the day. But I don't know. Then I look at Victoria and I think, well, Victoria knows it's not just going to be that easy. Victoria has been in Claire's shoes. The pressure is real, and so are the consequences. There's always a story. Ooh, I gave you guys a hard quote this week. There's always a story. If you want to find out who said that, go to yrchat.com and reveal the answer. Quick birthday shout out to Kathy, April 30th. Very, very happy birthday to you, Kathy. You got an Abbott remodel of the mansion this week for your birthday. Ooh, don't you just want to go take a sit on that pink couch? It's Italian velvet, you know. All right, let's look at some comments, starting with Brent, who says, so Cole is a dead man. Nice knowing you, Cole. Brutal. T. Nicole says, my reaction when the average person has a coughing fit in the real world is that they must be getting over a cold or have a tickle in their throat. My reaction to Cole Howard having a coughing fit in the world of Y&R is, well, he's dead. I guess we should prepare for Y&R to kill off Cole as we're making room for newer characters. Yep. And Naomi says, I hope we don't get Amy finally cured of a terminal or maybe just hopeless illness, only to have Cole have a terminal illness. We don't have a hospital, so the health problems always have to go out of town for treatment. You know, I just want to say that that's very astute. Amy's life is being saved. Cole's life is clearly on the line. And I feel like that it's very, the timing for it is very clear. Because Victoria and Cole were headed for happiness. And then Y&R decided to invest in the Damien and Amy storyline. And now suddenly she lives and Cole's going to die. That is the size of it. Diana says, it is very sad that Y&R wants to kill off Cole. It appears that this may be the direction that they're going. I really like his character. I find his character to be very down to earth, believable, and a character that you can relate to. He was telling Victoria and Claire how much he missed them and loves them, and I believed it. Cole is very authentic. He comes across as being such a good guy that you forget he actually cheated on Victoria with Ashley. His character now would never do that. He's evolved and become a better man, and he also makes you want to forget that he slept with Victoria's mother, too. Ew. They share that in common. Forget all of that. I don't need to remind anyone of his past dirty deeds because he's a new man, and Cole's character has so much potential. Let's see him have a few run-ins with Ashley and let the sparks begin. Yeah, I agree. Cole had potential. It's clear that that potential was cut short. Well, Tina Cole also says, Kyle and Claire professing their love for one another got me. Once tears on Claire's face started, I was really in my feels. And it was a beautiful scene between the two of them. I'm also glad we got to fully fall into the scene and not get interrupted by another character walking in on the two of them. Yeah. And Sharon W. says, I guess I'm a big softie, but Claire's pronouncement of love to Kyle was very tender and sweet. I got teary-eyed, and then Claire shed her own tears. Remembering from the very beginning when Claire tried to kill her family until now, what a journey! At this point, I love Claire. Isn't it funny how just a well-written scene can really change the way you view a character? It's not all leather shirts. I mean, that's a leather shirt, a tight leather shirt on those pecs that I would just like to unbutton. That's one way to do it, but you can also just write a really touching, emotional scene, and it really pulls you in because honestly, like Kyle and Claire, I'm not over the moon. They're good. But I'm not like over it. And then we have the scene where they're saying I love you for the first time and suddenly I am. Russell says Nikki saw right through Victor and even told him so when she hoped he would be too busy to mess with Jack and Kyle. She went straight to Victoria and Claire, and they put the pieces of the plan together in seconds. I think Victor may have met his match when the three of them are collaborating. Yes, but will it be too late? I don't know. Brent says, I'm glad that Claire, in the company of her mother and grandmother, already put together that Audra may be used by Victor to cause harm to Jack and Chabot. Here's hoping it won't be hard for them to figure out the whole scheme, and quickly. I've always been Team Victor. I tend to give him the benefit of every possible doubt, but not even in his locking that Jordan woman in the dungeon and feeding her Brussels sprouts altered my affections. I told my wife, who doesn't watch the show, about that incident, and even she was like, how can you support that man? But I say that even I am disgusted by his plan to pimp Audra out to break up Kyle and Claire. Shame on him. It grosses me out. I often justify Victor's actions on the grounds that, in his own defense, in his own misguided way, he loves his family more than anything. But no, he loves his vendetta against the Abbotts at least a tiny bit more. The stakes in Claire's relationship with Kyle are not that high for him to be raising the threat level to DEFCON 5 or whatever. This is foolishness on a grand scale. He deserves to fail spectacularly, and I'm rooting for Nikki, among others, to punish him for his actions. Yeah, Brent, man. I feel like this is the thing. I mean, I guess I don't get pimp vibes because Audra feels like an agent of her own fortune. Like she agreed to it. So the pimp vibes, I guess. Well, and I mean, I guess that's true in a pimp situation too. But I guess the thing is, I feel like it's just not necessary. I feel like the Audra part of it is especially not necessary. I mean, I want Audra to have her company. I want Audra to have agency. But she didn't need to be the challenge for Kyle and Claire. Summer was enough challenge for Kyle and Claire. Victor didn't need to do any of this. He didn't need to do anything. Summer would have taken care of it eventually. It would have played out eventually. It's just, like you said, raising to DEFCON 5 when it's absolutely unnecessary. Naomi says, why would Audra and Victor meet at the ranch? And then to have Nikki conveniently walk in. The alliance between Victor and Audra makes no sense. There are easier ways to cause problems for Kyle and Claire. Victor could lock Kyle in the dungeon jail under the ranch and promote falsehoods about Kyle running off to join the circus or whatever. You're right, Naomi. It would be easier for Victor to just lock Kyle in the dungeon than to deal with this whole Audra thing. It just, and Audra had enough complications. She already has the Holden complication. So she didn't need anything to come in between her and Nate. She already had Holden. So this whole Audra plus Victor thing just really is a miss. Victoria says someone who's in need of a storyline is Audra. Seducing Kyle, break up he and Claire isn't drama. Everyone's already figured it out, except for Kyle. And it's just a matter of time. Audra is an intriguing character. The actress has chemistry with everyone. GC needs a femme fatale. Send Audra away for a while and have her come back in an established cosmetics company. Add a kick-A assistant who takes no gruff from anyone, and I'll be all the way in if Theo Vanderway was on her arm and had plans of his own. Oh my gosh, that would be so great. Audra plus Theo. You're right. I mean, the show needs a femme fatale. Audra's amazing. Audra's great, but this story for her isn't great. Naomi says, I guess I'm growing tired of Sally. She has no life or story. She has no family, no home, no work. We only see her listening and advising Billy and Audra. Sally was friends with Chloe. Bring Chloe back, along with Gloria. Those three women could get together at Glissade or whatever imaginary company Sally is at. It would never be dull with Gloria at the receptionist desk. Yeah, I think you're right. It's like Sally's stuck in the same place as Audra, only worse. I mean, Sally really has nothing but Billy's business, which is, it's not a good use of her character. Although Russell says Sally's synopsis of Phyllis and Billy's conversation was perfect. She said Phyllis said the same thing in different ways and Billy said no in multiple ways and Phyllis didn't hear it. That was a great way to describe many conversations on this show, which sometimes feels like filler. Oh, I have to say, yeah, it felt a little fillery. And it continues, Russell says, this 2 days of Billy and Phyllis talking about Daniel, who had already told everyone he's not coming to work at Abbott, is boring. There is nothing to discuss. He made his decision. What does Phyllis want Billy to say or do? It makes no sense. Just move forward and maybe Daniel will change his mind later and they can see if there's a place for him. Otherwise, get on with it. I mean, really, Russell. And it looks like next week from the previews, he almost looks like he's getting ready to fire Phyllis, which again is just so totally out of left field and so totally unnecessary. And I'm agree with you there. It feels like filler. Sharon W. says, sorry to others who would disagree, but I was so angry at Billy on Tuesday. He seemed so disinterested when Phyllis was pleading Daniel's case to him. Phyllis has been there for Billy, especially recently, over and over again. She stood up to so many different people on his behalf. It goes to show that he doesn't appreciate what she has done for him in recent weeks. I'm wondering why he rushed with Nick to save Sharon and Phyllis when now he can't see how fragile Phyllis really is and how much she really needs someone in her corner. The whole trouble with Billy is that he's selfish. I've been in Billy's corner for months, but I'm asking why he can't be bothered to look out for Phyllis when she is literally at the end of her rope. Yeah, Sharon W. I agree wholeheartedly. Steven says, I'm worried about poor Phyllis. After a narrow escape from her life was on the upswing. A new bestie, the kidnapper unmasked, Billy needing her guidance and protection, a path forward for Daniel. Fast forward 1 week, Sharon says adios, Daniel sayonara, Sally's provoking Billy to give her the hasta la vista, baby. Is it too late for Phyllis to be kidnapped? Will anyone care or notice? Man, that's exactly what happened here, Stephen. Something changed with the storyline direction because Phyllis was poised for maybe, some interesting emotional scenes. But you're right, everything was lined up for her. And all of a sudden, 1 week later, it's just not anymore. I don't know. Seems like things are shuffling around. Gary says, I would like to see Phyllis save herself and the audience from a career in big business to see the Grand Phoenix rise again with her beloved Daniel at her side as a jewelry maker and a little shopper booth inside the hotel. Longtime fans will recall the artsy Daniel's love of jewelry. So this would be a coming home to him at a time when he's seeking peace. Who just decides out of the blue, I want to learn guitar? I mean, really, it feels like he just wants to get closer to Tessa, doesn't it? I mean, there are a million different directions he could take. He already owned the guitar. He tried to play it in the past. Why guitar? Is it just because of the person who was sitting across from him? Why guitar and not jewelry making? I think that's the real question of the week. Well, Robin says, I can't wait for Daniel and Tessa to fall for each other. They have great chemistry. But where does this leave Mariah? Yes. I mean, they're cute scenes. I guess I'm just stuck because it just feels so like, really? Huh? I mean, and next week in the previews, we are seeing Mariah finally. And she's coming in and she's seeming to say that something is wrong. Daisy says, I wonder if Mariah looked like she'd seen a ghost because she did. Maybe she saw Ian Ward and became confused and petrified at the same time. Poor Mariah. Okay, that could be it. Maybe that's what she's worried about in the previews. But Tina Cole says, are we going to have a Daniel and Tessa affair? In reality, I'm not for cheating, especially knowing there's a little Aria in the picture. But I am watching The World of Soapy Goodness and honestly would be okay seeing Daniel and Tessa grow closer and have a hookup. We are just seeing these scenes with Daniel and Tessa and no Mariah thrown into the mix to also be a listening ear. You know, maybe that's what threw me off about it. That just the fact that there was no, I don't know, Mariah and Tessa aren't together that much really on screen, it seems. I don't even know the last time we did see them together. It's really been Tessa at Society lately, running into Daniel, or at the coffee house running into Daniel, but maybe it's just we haven't seen Tessa and Mariah together enough, and maybe my brain's just not fully there. But yeah, I mean, it probably would be a hookup or an affair. We are talking an affair, but they do also have a small baby. Of course, I think that did not stop Abby. Oh, different topic. Connie says, I was very moved by the Amy storyline and the loving family dynamics that are developing among this group. They united as a family to give Amy physical, emotional, and spiritual support. Damien is covering the finances. Nate is facilitating the medical care. Both men are accompanying her on the trip, and Audra's praying from home. I liked that they started with the trip down memory lane and then had joking banter about no booze or getting lost on the tour of the city. Then came the Boston medical trial news. Amy was right when she said that this caring support is special, and that hope brought tears to my eyes. Audra was right that this is wonderful news for them all, and then the tears rolled when they hugged goodbye. Yes, Connie. I actually sort of pulled back on my own comments about this week because I was like, you know what? Connie left that great comment. She really nailed it all. I mean, it was beautiful. It was a beautiful moment, and it was all really well written. All of the character dynamics were there. It just feels like suddenly out of the blue, we have this family. I don't want Audra to screw this up by getting messed up in this stupid Kyle situation for a job. Ooh, Lisa J says, I'm still on the fence about Amy, Damien, and Holden in that storyline. Is she really sick? And Nate's friend has been bought by our mysterious billionaire? Are Damien and Amy in cahoots? Then there's Holden, who's just plain sketchy. I'm about ready for the story to get some real teeth. Yeah, Lisa J, I'll tell you what I'm ready for is the Aristotle Dumas to show up. I'm tired of this hanging in the background for months now. This part needs to come to the foreground. We need to find out who this person is, and for this story to really start to roll downhill on the momentum they've already built. Okay, speaking of Abby, last week I asked you guys if you think Y&R should bring her back full-time. 50-50 straight up split. 50% say yes, Abby. 50% say no, Abby. Michelle says Abby hasn't been a main character ever, so she's not very missable. But one of my favorite scenes from the retro episodes was when Abby was a child sitting in a Jabot office pretending to be Uncle Jack, declaring, I own Jabot, and Victor saying, what? which was a big reveal that Jack stole Jabot back from Victor. Too bad it wasn't Haley Aaron that played Abby. Much later, that would have been cute. Yeah. I don't know, I still like Abby. I just think she's got potential. Marianne V says, I thought it was good to see Abby, but I didn't really miss her. She isn't really involved in any storylines right now. I think that's unfortunate. Tony says she could be if we brought her back. She adds so much. She could be playful and fun, and, well, there's Chance waiting for another chance. He never asks about Dominic, and Abby is the one who needs the plot against the Newmans, who never mention her. She could throw parties, invent something accidentally, become a cocktail singer. Lots of opportunities for a cute actress. Historically, too much fun to be a board member or Mrs. Devon. Yeah, Tony, yeah. I think so, too. I feel like Abby's such a core character. She's Victor's daughter. I feel like they should make a bigger place for her. She's a bigger character. And you're right, Michelle. She's never been a big character, but I feel like she should be. She should be right there. She has untapped potential. Well, saving the best for last. Astra says, I really liked the Abbott Refresh. It's old and new at the same time. It needed a remodeling, and I'm happy to get an updated set. Nice. T. Nicole says, no need to panic though. Dina's death chair has been preserved, along with all the other furniture. Yes, everything is preserved off screen just in case Jack didn't like it, including the stair railings. I don't know, I actually kind of preferred the other style of stair railing, but that's a picky detail. It all boils down to less dusting. I should be supportive of that. Sharon W. says, my 2 cents, even though Jack's mansion was beautifully redone, I am not a fan of the rose-colored striped sofa, but I'm not a pink person. So when in doubt, go leather, which would look warm next to the dark wall color. However, the dining room is much improved, looks much more open and lighter. My second 2 cents, just so I don't sound like a downer, I do love the wallpaper in Jack's foyer, the updated darker staircase railing, the dark wall color in the living room, and the bookshelves, and the white chair with the small dots or small pattern. I can't see it that well, but please, Jack, if you're listening to me, get rid of the sofa. I feel like that dot pattern on the chair is going to be tricky. I don't know. It's almost a little too loud. You would want the characters' outfits and performance to stand out. I kind of think that those chairs maybe should have been a little more plain. Victoria says Diane's refresh is nice. She kept the classic vibe, but update the color scheme to a lighter one. I found photos online, which gave me some more detail. I love the change to the entryway. It's so open and full of light. The floor and wallpaper are classics and drew the eye up. Diane even made a lighter trim color from ivory to a soft white. The Abbott sofa went from an overstuffed gold sofa to a modern tufted salmon sofa, which leads a softer touch. I didn't see the Dina death chair, although it may still be there. I have to pause there. That's so interesting because, let's see, Sharon W. called it rose. Victoria calls it salmon. It does have this optical illusion effect. Which is it, red or is it pink? I do want to hear what you guys how you guys can I don't know, I see rose. It also kind of boils down to your screen that you're watching on. Different screens can calibrate color differently. And also your eyes, different people view color differently too. So, yeah, there's that. But the Dina death chair is definitely gone. They got rid of that. Just to mess with me. Victoria does go on to say, I would like Diane to reassess some areas. The drapes in the dining room are too heavy. They almost need their own zip code. Please open up this area with minimal window coverings and let the yard shine. Also, many of the decorative touches are too heavy, such as the centerpiece on the dining room table. Many of these things don't seem like Abbott treasures. Rethink these and minimize. And also the portrait over the fireplace should be replaced with an oil portrait of the Abbott family, past or present, preferably including John. Oh, Victoria, that would have been the move. But then again, if they did a full portrait, And then there's a recast, which would be unlikely. That could be a problem. So little photos they can swap in and out, but a full portrait might be harder if anything happens to anybody. But I mean, yeah, a full portrait of the family would have been a good idea if they could have pulled it off. But you liked, let me see. Well, first of all, I think you're right about the curtains. If they would have just opened up the dining room and let it been a little lighter there, take off the big heavy drapes, let some light come in through those windows, maybe it would lighten up the room. Also, oh, I noticed that, speaking of the centerpiece, the table runner in there was pink. So there's just something about pink. Diane went with pink or rose. Maybe they're meaning rose. Maybe it meant to be rose. But, you know, a table runner can be swapped. Gary says I didn't like the dining room. It was dark and seemed too grand and formal over the blue space of the more welcoming original. I worry that the house is a little too Mount Vernon and see Diane's update as a more formal look back in time over the original with a modern twist. I am happy with the outcome of the story where Jack is joyful and Diane is finally given her opportunity to put a stamp on her marriage. Diane wanted Jack to be pleased, and he is, shows her savvy with her declaration that the one person who will not like it is Ashley. Yes, that's what I'm really waiting for. Jack was allowed to have his minor criticisms, but the one who is really gonna bring the heat, really shine the light of criticism, is Ashley. And I'm kind of looking forward to that. I think that could be a fun new beef between Ashley and Diane for years to come. Well, that does it for the Y&R Chat Abbott Mansion Redo Edition. Is it red? Is it pink? YRChat.com is the place where you can cast your vote. I mean, but again, pink is just light red. So it's hard to tell. I mean, the lighting on the set could affect it too. Oh my goodness. I know you guys have got a lot to say about the mansion, so you got to go to the website this week and vote in the poll and give me your comments, especially after listening to what everybody else has said. Ooh, juicy, juicy. I don't feel disappointed. I'll say that. I don't feel disappointed. There's some things, you know, there's some things, but there was some things about the new old ranch too. The new old ranch too. The new old. So, you know, we're probably going to be picking it apart for years to come. Little things may be tweaked along the way based on fan reaction. So it doesn't hurt to go in and get in your comments. You never know when Y&R might read them. Okay. I love you guys. I hope you have a beautiful week, and I will see you next Sunday. All right? Okay. Bye.